A redirection towards a big yes?
I'm sure I have. Nothing is jumping to the top of my mind, but I'm sure.
But not like
I have. Yeah, or just like relationships have changed a lot, where I've been really intimidated by somebody or felt like, oh my God, I care so much about what they think about it. And then years later, you're friends with that person and you feel like, oh, that's great that they think that. I don't really, I'll take it as, 2 cents and move on with my life. You know what I mean? So you can get, in terms of that, that certainly that has happened to me.
Understood.
Yeah.
Do we have time?
Yes.
I'm enjoying this conversation very much.
Yes.
Okay, so what do you think
I'm distracted by fixing my hair. Okay.
Just fabulous. Fix your fabulousness.
I'm listening.
I don't even look at myself because I don't want to
get distracted by the camera. Okay.
I used to look at myself at the beginning. I'm like, oh my God, am I perfect at all times? I put my screen aside so I don't have to see myself. So however I look and however I look, just take it.
Yes.
Anyway, so I wanted to ask you this. In your opinion, what is the most challenging part of an artist's life? Because we all know, we all have this thing, oh my God, the artist's life.
Yes.
What is your description and what is your idea of the challenge? I'm not going to call it hard because I think being an artist is such a beautiful and valuable path that one chooses to go on.
Mm-hmm.
Because it has so much growth and lessons and it's just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But it has its own challenges, obviously.
Yes.
And as an artist, for you, what part of the artistic life seems challenging?
Making it sustainable, I think, is the biggest one for most people. Staying in it, knowing that there are periods of time where you are trying to make the next thing happen. Where you're not seeing the results yet necessarily of all your hard work. So sustaining that life and that pursuit is...
How do you sustain
her? Anne Bogart has a great quote, which is that there's no, I'm going to butcher this, but it's essentially there's no such thing as an unemployed director.
Ooh.
Which is genius. I mean, everything she says is genius, but isn't that good?
So what does that mean to you?
If you are making work, you are directing. And you don't need to wait for somebody to give you the opportunity to make work. You can generate work. So if you are working on a project, you are employed, essentially. You are directing, right? A lot of people, I think, are waiting for the opportunity for a job
to come to them.
Right. Instead of saying, oh, maybe there's a role that you really want to play, and getting a group of people together and making that happen so that you can play that role, and not waiting for, a theater to produce that play and then cast you in that play to do that thing. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think that's at the essence of what she's saying is it's your choice if you want to be unemployed as a director.
Have you ever written any of the pieces that you directed? Do you write?
No, nobody wants that.
No director wants that?
No. I mean, nobody wants that from me. I can dialogue, but I can help. I mean, I can I like collaborating with writers and looking at a piece and, but in terms of actually writing the line by line dialogue, I'm always like, here's the bad version. This is sort of the idea of what I'm trying to get at, and then they can actually make it
I
sound
see.
believable and real. And
So you're always working, like from this project to this, but there is no pause that I have noticed actually so far, because I follow you on your social media as well, and you're always like doing something, which is you're following through that beautiful advice.
yeah, well, yeah, if you have time in your calendar and there's something you've always wanted to do it.
Do you finish a project first and then move on to the next project, or how does that work in your world?
Sometimes they overlap.
They overlap.
Yes, and I had not really experienced that too much until my time at Columbia. There's a lot of overlapping projects, and I think that taught me to be less precious about it as well, knowing that you can juggle multiple things and know that, okay, in this week this project really needs my time and attention, and I'm going to be okay with compromising a bit of my time and attention on this other thing, and then I'll make up for it the next week. It's like having pets or something. You're like, you have to balance out how, time and attention you're giving them and what is needed in that particular moment.
Great.
But yeah, it's fun. It can be fun actually, because sometimes they teach you something about each other, right? Like if you're working on two things at the same time, you can learn something doing one project and then bring that over to the next project, and it can really benefit that. So it can be beneficial actually.
When you are conceptualizing a project, what comes to mind first? For example, you chose a project to work on. Do you envision the whole thing first? Do you go like, you know what, I'm gonna start taking risks and see what happens first, or do you study the text? What is that process look like for you?
Yes, it's a combination. I try to do it in an order and like really sequence myself, but I never do, because as you're reading the play over and over and over and analyzing it and doing the script analysis, you're coming up with ideas for conceptually that you can't really ignore. So I end up doing a lot of drifting between like vision, dreamland of what conceptually could be, thinking about the questions that I want to explore within the play and how that is going to translate into the concept, and then also the analysis work of the script and really understanding the action of every scene and understanding what every character's intentions are and what their emotional journey is. So I try to do all that script work before I allow myself to start coming up with finalized ideas, but sometimes what gets you into a project is a question, and you have different relationships to the material as well. If it's something I've known for a very long time, I'm carrying knowledge of the piece already, which I'll conceptualize before I even have to officially really sit down and read it for this project.
Right.
But then you also learn stuff from reading it again. You're like, oh, I've lived with this play for 10 or 15 years, but now that I'm reading it again, I'm discovering, like reading a book multiple times, you pick up on things that you didn't pick up on before, or in a particular moment, something resonates with you in a different way than it had when you read it before. So it's all part of that process, but it's all very in conversation with each other for me. And I try to keep coming back to a structural form of doing it, and then I end up drifting away from that, and then I come back and I drift away from it.
For sure. Absolutely. That makes sense. I already have told you this. I've envisioned you myself in such high places. You're absolutely brilliant. Such a genius mind.
I appreciate it.
Very talented. Very talented. If you were... Okay. So do you dream of directing a piece in your life, like a lifetime piece? Do you know what it is yet, or you are...
Yes, I have a huge list.
You do?
Oh, yes.
What is the? Would you be able to share like the top
Hmm.
three?
Yeah.
The
Well,
first.
I'm really interested in cycles of three. Like that's what's particularly speaking to me now, right now.
Okay.
Um, so I want to do my Sweeney Todd again for sure. I would love to work on that again. And then I'd love to do like two other Sondheim musicals in a sort of trilogy of Sondheim shows. Like I think shows being conceptually in conversation with each other is really interesting. So
What are do you
I
know?
really want to do a little night music one day. I would love to do that. I would love to do Follies. So it would be cool to do all of those in
In a sequel?
yeah, and like in sequence with each other, I guess, or sort of bundled together where these productions are conceptually in conversation with each other in terms of how to approach Sondheim in a particular moment in the world. I think for me, working on Sweeney Todd was so exciting because we are now in this post Sondheim world, right? So it feels like this moment where we've had this huge, enormous privilege to live during a time where one of the greatest writers alive was living, right? It's like if you think about what it must have been like to be around when Mozart was alive and writing things, right? And now that period is over, and people are going to think of Sondheim as they think of Mozart. They're going to think about him as this person who lives through their writing, who's far away in the distance, and that his name is almost become more than an identity of a person, right? So what does that mean in terms of how we approach his work? So I wanted to look at it as though I might approach Chekhov or I might approach Shakespeare, right? Where we are now telling those stories feeling so disconnected from who those people were in the time that they were living, the kind of how they might have made the work, right? I'm sure now if Shakespeare was alive and he was seeing the way people were doing Shakespeare, he'd be like, "What the hell? Like, this, you're ruining it. You can't cut this. Are you crazy?" Like, blah, 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 right? So there's a sort of artistic freedom as a director in telling those stories, and so that was kind of the beginnings of wanting to look at Sondheim with that kind of lens and in that direction. What does it look like to radically reimagine his work in a world where the work is now going to exist beyond him for thousands of years? So it would be fun to do a whole cycle or trilogy of his works with that kind of approach. I'm also interested in doing a similar cycle, sort of trilogy of plays that are not necessarily all by the same writer, but all centered around myth. And I'm excited about. I think there's a desire, at least that I feel, and I think that a lot of people feel, to have more meaningful theater experiences.
What do you mean by meaningful?
That
In what way?
I think what's happening in the world is we are trying to make theater compete with streaming. Now you can sit home and for a subscription price that most people are paying, you can just watch something that is like the cultural event that everybody is like, have you seen the show? Did you watch this? You have to watch this, right? And so that's competing with spending a lot of money and going to the theater and seeing something. I think the thought that is winning right now is do something short. Like people have short attention spans, so like 90-minute plays. Like people don't want to produce a 3-hour play, right? Or people don't want to produce, it's like keep it 90 minutes. And I think that is not what theater can do best, right? Like there's a liveness, and I think you see that in Sunset Boulevard. Sunset Boulevard is not moving like this. It's actually moving quite slowly, and there's so much stillness and silence in it, and it changes the rhythm of the way the audience receives information and breathes. And there is something about it, particularly in the top of Act Two, when the much talked about part where he walks around, Joe Gillis walks around on the streets and they film him, but that there's something about that which is so live, and there's real people on the street walking around him, and anything could happen, that reminds the audience of they are a part of something that is here and now. And that carries meaning to it. That is something you couldn't just watch a film version of that production at home and have the same experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same.
That's true.
And so I'm much more interested in creating meaningful experiences for an audience, which I think could be like 12 hours. Do you know what I mean? Like, go to this really cool destination and have this very spiritual experience with each other as a group, and receive this story together, and hopefully talk about that for the next 2-3 years of, oh my God, I went and saw this production of this show, and we traveled to this place, and I met all these people that I still talk to, and we all experienced this together. That's what I think is powerful about theater. So, and I think we live in a world where everything's sort of losing meaning, because nothing's real anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't know what's real. We just don't even know what's real. Like, I see things all the time and I'm like, oh, that's not even a real photo. That's not even a real video clip. That's not real. And information we're getting is also like, is this even true? Is this real? Did this happen? I don't even know anymore. So giving audiences, I want to have meaningful experiences. So, and I think there can be a spiritual aspect to the theater going experience. So I am interested in exploring that also.
I cannot wait to see
a trilogy of plays.
Absolutely. No, that's going to be to me, it's going to be super powerful experience.
I hope so.
No, the fact that you can be part of it as an audience,
mm-hmm.
versus just be away and separated from it and just observe it. It's totally a different experience.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of that in Romeo and Juliet.
And the Seagull too.
Yeah.
The Seagull too.
Yeah, but it would be interesting to see, take it to an extreme and see what that experience would be like for an audience.
Absolutely. But for those two productions, I was in the production. I wasn't watching it from far, but as an audience, to see such a thing, it would be so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about your theater companies, and then
sure,
release you to go do your rehearsal.
Yes. Well, I started Cleveland Musical Theater was my company that I started.
That was your first one?
Yeah. So I essentially... Okay, so the project I was talking about earlier that I directed my first show was before I went away to undergrad. I did the Who's Tommy. I did a one-night benefit production of it, which was very... It was not a concert, I would say. It was more than that. It was like very staged and choreographed, and a lot of people were off book, and it was a lot that went into one evening, I'll say that. But it was pretty amazing and special. And so that became the genesis for the theater company of Cleveland Musical Theater, because I brought in performers, actors from New York. Some of them have Broadway credits to be in the show. And then there's a huge community of young talent in Cleveland because the arts are so funded and supported there. So it was an opportunity for people from younger generation, older generation, different levels of experience to come together and make something special.
How can you just create a theater company? Is it like, what does the process look like? Is it a challenging process, or just you're like, it takes
time. It's more dealing with your own impatience of like, why can't I, like waiting for the government to like send you back paperwork or like approve you for your 501c3 status. It's not like difficult to do necessarily, but it takes a lot of time.
I see.
So it's not like you can just be like, okay, now we're going to do the show and we're going to get these people together. It's like you have to really build a foundation and wait for things to be checked off and greenlit.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that was your first company?
Yes. So that was my first company, which was based in Cleveland. And eventually I moved here and changed the name to New City Music Theater. So that was all part of the same nonprofit company.
Okay.
And then I had a different company that was working in tandem with the nonprofit, which was an educational program called Work with Broadway. And I started that a couple years after I started Cleveland Musical Theater. And that was based in New York. So the nonprofit was originally based in Cleveland and Work with Broadway was based in New York. And those were usually week-long intensives focused on audition prep. So I would teach a build your book class where I would teach the fundamentals of what you need in terms of audition cuts within your book, and then gave everybody 3 new songs during the process.
Okay.
So then there was a vocal technique class and dance class, and it would be centered around a show. So it would be like the whole week was centered around Hamilton, for example. And then the music director from Hamilton would come in and teach music from the show. The dance captain would come in and teach choreo from Hamilton, mixed in with these kind of core classes for audition preparation.
And you're still
daily master classes.
You're still running those companies?
I still have them. I haven't done an intensive since I started grad school.
Got it.
Yeah. So we'll see now that I'm graduated if I pick that back up or change it. I mean, it's a lot has changed in 3 years, of course. So it might kind of rebrand them a bit or look at the curriculum and change it to update it to what the current sort of demands are in terms of auditioning, which has changed so much. So
for those who want to work with you or audition for you, how do they find you?
My website, my personal website is the best
Okay.
way to find me. Yes, it's my name, milessternfeld.com. And I have a contact page with a contact form and my email. And social media is good too. Okay. Yeah.
So how does that work? Do you post auditions or do they come and tell you, hey, we exist?
Yes, usually I have auditions posted on Actors Access or on Playbill, but I'll usually post on social media also if you just follow me that I have something that I'm working on that's coming up, and I'll share the link to audition.
Miles, this was amazing. I'm really happy to have this conversation.
Yes, me too. What a great way to finish up the rest of the week.
I know. Well, thank you so much. Yes.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you, Miles. Always pleasure is mine. So hope to get to work with you again.
Of course. I would love that.
Yes.
Thank you.